In today's video, we have a single act of bloodshed in a secluded field that sent shockwaves through the community, exposing the deadly grip of county lines and organised crime. At the centre of it all was Lee Turner, a man who was stabbed and killed by a county lines gang member. Lee Turner's final moments became a subject of intense scrutiny, debate, and a trial that would leave more questions than answers. This is Curios&Spiritual. We take a look at the case, the police investigation, and the trial. As you may already know, county lines refers to the practice where urban dealers expand their operations into small towns and rural areas, often exploiting vulnerable individuals, including children, to transport and sell Class A or Class B product. The county line refers to the phone line that people order from. In this case, Trayvon Eggio and two associates were recruited. They had travelled from London to Swindon with Class A product to deal on the 9th of October 2021 to operate on behalf of the JoJo County Line. They based themselves in a flat above Bobby's Fish and Chip Shop, opposite the Manor Pub. It was perfect setup. The gang conducted deals in the woods behind the Manor's Pub car park. On the 10th of October, just before 3 p.m, the three were dealing on the green behind the Manor Pub, just before the woods on a patch of land known as the Venny. Lee Turner, 33 years old, lived in Park North Swindon, had gone to meet the three dealers of the JoJo Line. He was found shortly afterwards by members of the public lying on the grass. The people who found him called an ambulance and tried in vain to save him. Lee Turner had died of a single stab wound to the chest. The three youths had ran off. A knife and a £10 note was found at the murder scene. Discarded clothing was found in the woods. The three dealers had begun making their way back to London. Police murder squad detectives and forensics combed the green at the back of the pub. Clothing was found, and also a knife. Wiltshire Police launched a major investigation, treating the case as gang-related attack. Officers quickly identified a link to the JoJo County Line, leading them to suspect that individuals from outside Swindon were involved. Police at the murder scene found a knife and a £10 note in the grass. On October the 15th, 2021, police executed coordinated raids in London, arresting three individuals. Trayvon Eggio, 17 years old, was the primary suspect. He is believed to have carried out the fatal stabbing. Also arrested was an 18-year-old male, suspected of assisting in the attack, and a 24-year-old male, arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to murder. Eggio was charged with murder while the other two suspects faced separate charges related to conspiracy and dealing offences. Investigators retrieved mobile phone data linking them to the JoJo Line, confirming their movements between London and Swindon. Eggio refused to answer police questions, but he did have a prepared statement. In the statement, it said that he'd been warned that someone was trying to rob the JoJo Line, so he'd armed himself with a kitchen knife. The three dealers were approached by a man he said was the victim, Lee Turner. Eggio described that Lee Turner had held a knife to one of his friends and shouted, "People don't mess with me. I'm Lee Turner." The youth said that Lee Turner approached them. He approached them from behind and started screaming and shouting. When I told him we didn't have any product, he pulled out a knife and put it to my friend's throat and told us, "People can't mess with me." Eggio said he gave Lee Turner all the money he had, between £80 and £90, but that Lee Turner then pulled out another knife and said, "I'll take all three of you." He said then he took his own knife out to protect himself and stabbed Lee Turner to the left-hand side of his chest, noting that he was extremely fearful at the time. After stabbing Lee Turner, Trayvon Eggio and his two friends ran into woodland on the border of the Venny, where they discarded two items of dark clothing and threw the knife into a brook. They then went into Swindon Town Centre and caught a train to Reading and another to London. Trayvon Eggio was charged with murder. Police began building a case. They had a statement that Eggio had stabbed Lee Turner in self-defence, but police would start to make more shocking discoveries. The knife found by the body of Lee Turner had Lee Turner's prints on it and belonged to him. He was pronounced dead at 3:09 p.m, and in Lee Turner's pocket was a phone. Digital forensics started going through the device. Police officers making other inquiries into the case found that Lee Turner had a probation officer. He had once described himself to him as a professional robber of dealers, and at the time of the stabbing, he had been armed with at least one pair of matching knives, and possibly a Stanley knife. Police forensics had come back with a voicemail recorded. He had pocket dialed a friend by accident. Police recovered the voicemail. The clip was poor, but it captured something of the events. In it, Lee Turner was heard threatening violence, shouting, "I'm ready to go, bro." Voices can be heard shouting insults like, "I'll cut you effing open, bro," and "Go on, I dare ya." At one point, a voice says, "Drop the knife." The Crown Prosecution Service started preparing for the case to go to trial. Murder charges were brought against Trayvon Edgeo, and the two other dealers were released without charge. At Bristol Crown Court, the murder trial for Lee Turner commenced. Lee Turner, 33 years old, died of a stab wound to his heart on the Venny in Pinehurst area, Swindon. Bristol Crown Court heard how even though two women tried to perform CPR, Mr. Turner suffered a catastrophic loss of blood, which he simply could not survive. In a prepared statement given to police and read to the jury, and read out by the prosecutor, the 17-year-old claimed he had acted in lawful self-defence because he was terrified and scared for his life. He claims that he and his friends were approached by Mr. Turner, who asked if we have anything on us, meaning product. Mr. Turner then allegedly began screaming and shouting. When they replied they didn't, saying, "I came up here for no reason." The defendant says he thought it was best to walk away, but that when he turned around, he saw Mr. Turner with a knife against his friend's throat. He alleges Mr. Turner shouted, "This isn't a joke, I'll cut him open and slit his throat." There was a scuffle where the defendant claims Mr. Turner tried to stab him and took another swing at him, so he brought his kitchen knife out of his pocket. He added, "I stabbed him with my knife. I did this instinctively. He was so out of control. I thought I would be killed. I was extremely fearful I was going to be stabbed. At the precise moment, stabbing the man seems to be the only way I could protect myself," Edgeo said. The prosecutor, Christopher Quinlan, King's Counsel, said almost none of the money the youth claimed to have handed over to Mr. Turner was found. Mr. Quinlan said, "Was the killing actually a fight about money or product?" The defendant and his team of dealers wanted to keep the money, and in that moment being prepared to use lethal force to do so. He added a single £10 note was all the police found at the scene, and Lee Turner had not a penny on him. Mr. Quinlan told the court that the three had set up base for the weekend in a flat over fish and chip shop in West Swindon, and then met people in the car park of the nearby pub for deals. He showed CCTV footage of the defendant and his associates in the car park. The trio were tracked via CCTV on their route to the venue. The pocket dial voicemail was played in court that visibly upset some of the jury, and it moved some of the members of the public observing the proceedings to tears. In it, Lee Turner was heard threatening violence, stating, "I'm ready to go, bro." The youth was also heard to say, "I've packed him," which was explained in court to have meant he stabbed him. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Trayvon Edgeo pleaded guilty to possession of a bladed article and 2 counts of being concerned in the supply of Class A product at an earlier hearing. He was sentenced to 24 months in total, suspended for 2 years. The jury's verdict for murder: the youth was found not guilty of Lee Turner's death, and was acquitted and walked free. He must complete 35 rehabilitation activity days, and has a condition of residence for 6 months. A spokesperson from Lee Turner's family said, "We'd like to thank Swindon Police for all they've done. They went far and beyond, for Lee and for us. The family is devastated by the outcome because we had to walk away from court with nothing, while Trayvon Edgeo gets to walk away with his life as a free man." DCI Phil Walker said, "The defendant in this case admitted to carrying a knife for his own protection. There can never be any justification for carrying a knife, or a weapon of any kind. If you carry a knife, you're putting yourself in danger of using it yourself, or it being used against you. I'd like to pay tribute to Lee's loved ones at this time. It has not been an easy process for them to listen to the details of his last moments in court, but they have dealt with this in the utmost dignity. The murder of Lee Turner stands as a grim reflection of the deep-rooted issues surrounding county line operations, youth exploitation, and the cycle of violence that plagues communities. While the trial brought legal closure, it left behind lingering questions. Was justice truly served? Could more have been done to prevent this tragedy? And how many more young lives will be caught in the grip of organised crime before change occurs? As county line operations continue to spread, exploiting vulnerable youth and fueling deadly conflicts, one thing remains certain: this won't be the last tragedy. As this case closes, another is already unfolding in the shadows, leaving us to wonder how many more lives will be lost before the cycle is truly broken. But for once, I am totally undecided about this case. A voicemail that turns a murder case to acquitted. Was the jury right?